And then popping, yeah, I don't know. But anyway, we live, we here, we live, we going. Hi everybody. Hi
Hello, you
everybody.
guys.
Hi everybody.
Let me
How's
see.
everybody? How's everybody out there? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the kitchen table
Welcome, you
talk.
guys. Get on up in here. Get in here. Get in here.
Get in here. Y'all get in here. Get in here. Get in here. Get in here. We're excited today. We're excited today. We got some good stuff, but we just gonna first come on. We're gonna even forego our kitchen soup tonight because we want to give all the platform and all the time to our special guest because we know she has a lot to share with us. Our special guest, Kelli Dillon. I'm going to bring her on the screen right now. You guys, welcome Kelli Dillon. Let me fix that. Okay, there we go.
Hey,
Hey,
Kelly. Hey,
welcome
girl.
Kelli. Welcome Kelli. Tonight we're talking and we're gonna jump right into the iron skillet. But my name is Tina Swift Tate. I'm your co-host and
You
Ram.
are the host.
I am. We co-hosted. Whatever. I'm the host tonight, and Ram is my co-host.
Hey,
Um,
guys.
yeah, and we're talking about tonight. What do you do when being at home? Because we've been ordered to stay in and quarantine ourselves. What do you do? Because their tag is safer at home. What do
Right.
you do when you are not so safe at home? Because
Yeah.
that can mean a lot of things. And so we're gonna explore a little bit about that tonight with Miss Kelli Dillon. I'm gonna let her give her bio and tell her all about what she do. You guys, if y'all seen it, y'all done saw a little bit what I posted, but I just kind of wanted to give you some teasers because I know she was gonna dive right in and
Right
say
on it.
exactly. Yeah. All right, Miss Kelli, you take it away. Can you? Oh, you
Yeah,
got to
I'm here.
unmute.
I'm
Okay.
here. I'm here. Hello everyone, and hi. How you guys? Nice to see you, and nice to meet you. Is Ram? Is that what? That's your name?
Yeah. Long story. We'll tell you
Yeah.
later.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, let's hear about that love story.
Yes, I've already met Tina. I've talked to Tina over the week or so. I think me and Tina we met while I was hosting on another show. And so I
Mhm.
think some of the things that we discussed, it sparked up something in her to go ahead on and have this conversation. So I am honored to be a guest on the table talk, the kitchen table talk. And so my name is Kelli Dillon. I am a commissioner for the city of Los Angeles. I serve under the Commission for Community and Family Services. I'm also the vice president of the Southeast Los Angeles Neighborhood Council, and I'm what you call a violence intervention specialist. So around 2009, I began to work on the intersectionality of girls, females in gangs, and or gender specific issues around gang and gang violence, as well as with the intersectionality of domestic violence. So since for the last 10 years, I've been actually, whether if it's training or doing workshops or working in the community, those are the two issues in which I address, especially in the African American population, with female population. I've worked for numerous domestic violence programs, and one of the main ones in which we saw was that there was two things that was coming up and it still is an issue today, in which a lot of the women who were seeking DV shelter and was seeking domestic violence services was being denied due to their gang affiliated ties. And so, and also another thing is the services. So most of the service provision was being done by people who may not understand the culture, our culture in South LA, and whether if it be gang culture or African American culture, there was a lack of having people in the field who understood the culture. So they couldn't understand how they had a person who was a victim of domestic violence, but a perpetrator of violence.
Mm.
So trying to understand the cycle and the dynamic of that. And so, you know, for me, I'm a firm believer. I have a strong spirituality that your gift will make room for you. And so therefore, because I did understand it and I've also have some lived experience in that area, that's the reason why that opened up and that became the field and the lane in which I focus on. So that's where I'm at right now. I can go on. I got three other hats, but I'm just gonna stick it right there right now. We'll talk about that
Put
later.
a pin in that right there. Exactly.
Right.
Because we gonna talk about them other hats too. But you gonna come
Yeah.
on and talk about some of them other hats in future shows. But um,
Absolutely.
you said something that really kind of grazed my ear a few minutes ago, where they don't understand the culture. Because I worked with foster care, and I taught some of the parents who were trying to be foster parents, and the curriculums and things and stuff that they put out there. It really doesn't speak to our culture. A lot of
No.
the in every across the board, domestic violence, how to train a kid, all that kind of stuff. They really don't relate to how we train our kids. In
No.
fact, some of the things that we do, they literally would call it abuse, or they did. I had to like
Yeah.
relearn how to
Yeah.
think about teaching those classes. Like,
Yeah.
really? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cultures is completely different. But going past that, I just wanted to comment on that. You also said you were a victim and a perpetrator. So I know that's going to bring you right into your story. Tell me
Right.
what that means.
So, so in the cycle in the culture of violence, it's just like musical chairs. You can find yourself either on the victim side of it or the aggressor side of it. And so by me growing up, I grew up in Southeast LA, which is I'm a block away from Watts. So I grew over there in that area. And so I grew up in a culture of violence in a house, where violence was normal between the siblings. And then I also grew up in gangs. So me, I was I became gang affiliated around the age of 10. A lot of times we talk about domestic violence, and the first thing that you hear or you think about is either a mother and father fighting or either a parent abusing a child. But we never really address the issue of sibling abuse, where
Mm,
people are being abused by their older sibling or the older siblings or each other, whether they either be bullied. For having parents or older parents or uneducated parents, they may say, "Oh, girl," or "Oh, son, that's just sibling rivalry." That's the way they show love. But for a child that is trying to process the mistreatment of a sibling or a cousin or family members, it feels like something else. It
mm,
feels like something else. If it what a child experience is either a feeling of rejection, a feeling of mistreatment, a feeling of isolation, a feeling of not belonging, or a sense of not being wanted or whatever. So that's what I was feeling. I was like, and then I didn't have parents that understood the dynamics. So I'm for a lack of just saying that they were unaware and uneducated in it, they didn't really protect me from what was happening.
Right.
And then it was my word against an older sibling word. So then a
Wow.
mm,
lot of times, so here's the thing. Our children come to us at early ages and they say, "Mom, Dad, or Auntie or Nana, this is what's happening, this was going on." But if a older kid or older child is able to reason with the the parent, then what happens is that offense goes unaddressed, or not acknowledged. So that for me, when it became unacknowledged, it built up a anger inside of me. And
Mm.
also, so here's the thing, even as professional as I am, and I train in many forms, I'm still flat-footed. And what we call, that's in the South, flat-footed meaning I talk straight from the rip. Like I don't, I might cuss a little bit, so please forgive me. So I'm just gonna tell you how I feel. So I'm just
Do
gonna
No,
be
you? Do
no
so
you?
apologies
so
needed. No
yeah,
apologies to be done. We
so
at the
yeah,
kitchen table, we put it all on the table. And
thank
that's the
you.
purpose. At this
Yeah,
table, we are not requiring for folks to adjust a certain way. We want
yeah,
you to give it straight the way that you need to give it, because somebody is out there listening that
yeah,
has not gotten enough galls to
yeah,
say, hey, me too, or if she got through it, so can I.
yeah,
Maybe they need to
yeah,
reach out to you so that you can be
yeah,
some type of encouragement for
yeah.
them. So we
Right,
say, be who you need to be, Kelli.
right.
We're requesting you to come to our show to tell your story. Tell your
Yeah.
story.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate you allowing for transparency. So here's the thing. It pissed me off, right? It made me angry.
You're right.
So I mean, I was angry. I was angry, and it also created in me a feeling of don't nobody give a damn about me, so I have to protect myself. Don't nobody care about what's going on with me, so I have to look out for myself. So usually when a child or somebody goes through abuse situation like that, either they become introverted or very timid or very afraid of addressing confrontations of life, or it'll develop another type, which is that I would no longer be bullied, I would no longer be hurt, so I'm gonna get you before you get me. And
Mm,
so that for me, that developed inside of me that aggression in which I became the fighter. And I will fight you to the end. I will fight you to the death. And then I didn't hear, and I fought a lot of boys. I
mhm.
didn't really fight girls. Girls wasn't like a challenge for me. When if a guy said something, it was on. But if a girl say something, I'm like, oh, get out of here. I don't want to hear that. Like, whatever, you just talking. But because the fact that my anger was towards men, or my anger was towards, the male, the male gender. So we it's the term. Hmm.
Kelly, did it start with your siblings? So that's where it started.
That's where it
Wow,
started.
that's
That that
crazy.
that it started with my
Right
with
at
my
home.
sibling
Right at
at
home.
Right at
home.
all. And
It
like
started
when
at
I
home.
think about this, I wasn't even really thinking your
Yeah.
siblings.
Yeah.
You always think of an older
Outside.
adult, but
No.
your siblings,
But
man, that
I
was a
mean,
Yeah.
whole
but think about it. They
Right.
say, I mean, and I know, but it's a known fact that whenever abuse happens, sexual abuse, whatever, it's usually someone closest to you, right?
Yeah.
Especially the
Yeah.
sexual abuse, because
Right.
with that there's a sense of trust that's needed before
Right.
they can actually make their move. But
Right.
usually it started at home, and I can say that you will probably be able to, if it's somebody on the street, like I can get over it quicker than I can if it's my blood, my own blood,
Yeah.
someone that's right there with me
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
able to trust and able to sit
Yeah.
down and,
Yeah.
break bread with. But you're doing
Yeah.
it like somebody on the street.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing. It's so much like, man, what you just said, because I work with young girls who also end up doing, not I ain't gonna, it's not sex trafficking, but they end up doing sex work in different avenues, and it always starts at home. And it's funny how we try to get away from the hurt, the pain, and abuse of what's going on at home. We go right into the streets, or we fall right into a relationship in
Thing.
which is twice as worse.
Yeah.
Worse. It's
Yeah.
twice as worse. So it's like really literally jumping out of the pot and into the frying pan. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, I can handle it better if it's a stranger. But the pain of it coming from somebody who is supposed to care for me and who's supposed to love me is something that I cannot emotionally, mentally, or spiritually handle. So
Yeah.
it's easier for me to receive it from the streets than it is for me to receive it from the home. And so that's usually what happens for young men and women. So for me, so just to say, it created in me a feeling of rejecting my family because I felt like my family was not caring for me. And then I end up creating my own family within my community, in which my hood. So here's the thing. Usually when violence starts in the home, now we now I in another organization in which I am the program manager of a particular grant, we believe that violence abuse and violence for most people starts in the womb. It starts when the mother is pregnant and she's experiencing violence in the environment or in a relationship around her. But more than likely, when children grow up in violence or they grow up in aggressive homes or violent homes, it becomes cultivated in the streets.
Mm.
So that's where violence for me was cultivated. It was cultivated in the streets. So whatever lessons I got starting at home, then another lesson, another level of power and control and violence and everything, it began to be cultivated in the street.
Right.
So here's the thing. So because I know we're gonna come back and we're gonna break down the story, but then after I grow up in the street, gang fights, fighting this, doing this and that, I end up meeting a man.
Mm.
And this man also is cultivated in violence and cultivated in drug abuse and everything else like that from his household.
Right.
So now here it is. I go from being the victim to in the street being the perpetrator. Now I'm back in the relationship and now I'm the victim again. So that's the reason why I was saying that it's a cold, vicious cycle sometimes that a person can find themselves in as they begin to just go into this lifetime spiral of abuse.
So I will say this, and tell me if you agree with this, but I find this to be true. So what happened was at home there was a seed planted. And when you left home, everyone that you came into connection with, they were the water. So they
Yes.
began to water the seed that had been planted at home, and it began to grow and grow and grow, right? And so that can happen with a good seed or a bad seed. And we got to be mindful of that. So you sharing this is just an example of how important it is that we are mindful of what we're watering.
Right. And
Can
you
Can I
Mhm.
just clarify some things for our viewers? I just want to make sure that people understand what seeds and watering and all that means. What I'm hearing is, like you said, the perpetration started at home. When you say you became the perpetrator in the streets, that was your gang violence. So now
Yeah.
you are beating up or whatever you're doing out there to be violent in the street.
Yes. So it was more so like the people that I began to bond with. Most of
Mm,
the people, because the fact that I'm hurt, I'm broken, I'm troubled, I
right,
end up bonding with like-minded people.
right,
Other young kids, other people who were bonding based on our trauma. And usually
mhm,
that's what happens in a lot of different relationships, especially even domestic violence relationships. People tend to bond instead of bonding because of common things like, oh, you like art, I like art, or we both like, James Bond movies or something like that. People tend to bond based on needs and vulnerabilities and different things like that. So
Brokenness.
it's brokenness. So it's more so like, man, I remember what it was like for me when my dad left home and he didn't have a dad or she didn't have a mom. And then I remember when my mom was having, all of this stuff like that. Then it's like, oh, he needs me. She needs me. He
mm,
understands. You get what I'm saying? So
right,
that's what happened. So I ended up bonding with a lot of other kids who was going through broken things in their home. And so we were just a crew of little misfits that was out there. And so just to kind of speed it up anyway, just to speed it up is that Ram had brought up a thing. She said that a seed was planted. So here's the thing. We talked about the way we teach or culturally, especially in African American homes and parenting. Some of us believe in whoopings. We believe in getting your ass whooped because you done messed up. I told you to get off my couch. You keep jumping
right,
on my couch.
Right.
I'm gonna whoop that ass. Like I'm whooping everybody ass who was on my couch.
Right.
So
exactly.
so here's the thing. Let me tell you how that set me up for when my husband when I got into my domestic violence relationship, because I was in it and didn't really know I was in it until after I got married, because it was some things. I was so young. I was 17 when I got into this relationship that was very possessive and volatile, and then at 18 I got married, and then we'll go into what happened, Tina, then we'll go into what happened after that. But
Okay.
so here's the thing. So here's the thing. My mama would say, "Wait till your father gets home."
Mm.
Remember that?
Remember that
Yes,
show?
Yeah.
yes,
Wait till
that
your
was a
daddy
show.
get home. I'm gonna tell your daddy how you been acting at school, or I'm gonna tell your daddy, right? So here it is. My father is walking into a home in which he ain't been here all day, and
Right.
then my mama tell him something. The next thing you know, he whips out his belt and then begins to whip me. And
Mm.
I ain't seen you all day. Matter of fact, I didn't even see you yesterday. Because by the time you came home, I was asleep. So I ain't seen you today. So where's all of this aggression coming
Right.
from? And
I
why is
love
you
you.
take yeah, I know and why is you taking it out on my ass? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like what's the situation? And so, but here's the thing, because the fact that my daddy realized that every time had to be the disciplinary, and then it broke. I didn't want to say nothing to him. I didn't want to talk to him because you didn't hurt me, you didn't beat me half to death. And so what my daddy would do, he would leave a gift, like a day or so, he would leave a gift on my dresser.
Oh.
Money for Fila's and Nikes and Jordans, or he'll bring home cake or something like that. I'm a
Right.
fat kid, I like cake. But Waffle says that he would bring home something like that to
To
say,
patch it
"Baby,
up.
I'm sorry," to patch it up. So didn't even realize that you were talking about a cold setup. That was a cold setup for me. Number one, accepting that I had did something wrong in a relationship
Mm.
that warrant me being beat half to death or
Right.
hurt. And that, and then on top of that, it also showed me that the way a man shows he's sorry is by gift giving and
Yes.
doing things to try to make it up.
Right.
So I'm just gonna say that once the violence really started being, oh my God, just it was a lot in my relationship. When one day when I looked around my house, I had a house full of new shit. A
Mm.
whole house full of new shit. And when I looked at the microwave, and when I looked at the big screen TV, and when I looked at the vase, and when I looked at the everything had a story to it.
It was a
So when you
reminder of all of the beatings you had received.
exactly, you feel me? So when everybody else came into my house, they see all brand new fly stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I knew that each new thing was a I'm sorry. I don't, you just said this or you just did this. And so, if you just be good. So that's.
You know what? So I want to pause right there because we're so women, we're so into wanting the man to take care of us and wanting the look of being taken care of. And sometimes that backstory comes as way of yours. So your friends and your family were coming by and they're like, this man love her. He's every time I look up, he's buying her this, he's getting her that. And for you, you're struggling with this isn't love. These gifts and all of that is a I'm sorry, but if you're not sharing that story to your friends and family that are coming over, what they're viewing is you're a well taken care of woman. Wow.
Is that what they thought? Were you hiding it? Because that's pretty much like a.
Um, I wasn't really hiding it, because a lot of my friends as family members, they knew that we were fighting. But here's the thing. So this is where I want to get at, is that I wasn't really seen as a victim. Okay, so let's talk
Ah.
about so hold on. Let's talk about that girl. Let's talk
Look,
about
let's
that
Mm.
girl.
grab some air.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that girl. that girl that got a lot of mouth, the girl that always in somebody's face,
Mm-hmm.
the girl, the one that when she do get her ass whooped, it's like she had it coming.
Mm.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
feel me?
So
So
it
you
was
So,
probably like I bet she was running that mouth, so he had to.
yeah.
did you feel that way as well?
No, because here's the thing. In my he had already groomed me into submission of being in my place and being a certain way. So whenever he would trip out on me, I was like, what, where did this come from? Like, why did you do that? Like, I was like, you was picking and starting at me, and I'm steady trying to de-escalate. So no, I didn't have that. But everybody knew me to be such a strong individual in a no nonsense, take no shit type situation, till they couldn't
Uh,
really phantom me just getting beat and abused like that. They just really couldn't see it for what it was. And so and then I had women around me who had seen all of what he did, and we went from Watts to Westchester and living in townhomes and different things like that, to where they were kind of jealous, you
mm.
know. Oh, this bitch thinks she all of that. Oh well, she got like, oh, she getting her ass whooped for it though. It. You got to understand is that sometimes we as women, I know that abuse happens in same sex relationships. It also happens towards men, but sometimes women can be so hard towards one another, so judgmental towards one another, and so I didn't really have the comfort in my family as well as in my hood that I needed in order to support me enough and wrap around me enough to
Right.
get up out that situation. So here goes the story that we were talking about. So
Uh,
my so let I'm also going to talk a little bit about the spirituality of it. Once I got into by this time I got two children. I have two children. I'm 17 years old. I have two sons. And so I'm 18 and now I'm 19. I've got married at 18 and now I'm 19 years old. When before I got married, and before the actual physical abuse started at the level it did, I had rededicated my life to God. So I said, okay, then, Lord, this is a way for me to be a better person. And Lord, I trust you. You giving me, I want to stop gang banging. I want to stop doing this and that. Lord, I'm gonna trust you. And it seemed like the moment I made that prayer, everything got worse.
uh,
So during the time of me experiencing all the forms of abuse, mental, verbal, financial, in which I went with like just the financial control that he had over me to make sure I couldn't go anywhere.
right.
Um, have the possession, the jealousy, um, and sexual abuse and sexual assault. Sometimes not being able to say no, like that's not, that belongs to me. You my wife. If that you and that belongs to me, there is no no.
Right.
So by the time I look up, I'm crying out to God, and I said, you know what, God? I was like, you're not hearing me because and you must don't love me. So my spirituality part was if I'm your daughter and you got such a wonderful plan for me, then how could you allow somebody to creep into me and my children's life like this and just totally terrorize us? So it got to a point where I didn't want to hear nothing. You couldn't tell, like, Lord, don't talk to me because I know you used to talking to me because you're not hearing me, so we don't got nothing to say. So one night my husband came home. I'm cleaning up, kids in the room and everything. And he seen the covers, the comforter, and I was changing out the sheets in the covers, and he seen the comforter on the floor. And from there, he started calling me, call out my name and everything. And for me, I just snapped. So when he hit me because I didn't clean up the room right, I told him, I said, that's the last time you're gonna put your hands on me. And then he was like, what you gonna do? I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but that's gonna be the last time. That's your fine. That's it. So do you want the other cheek? Do you want the other side? Do you want an eye? What do you want? Because you can have it all right now because it's gonna be your last. So what happened was he came home like calm, he was calm for a minute. And then he came home a couple weeks and then he went in on me. And from there, I think I fought him as hard as I could ever fight him. And then my neighbor intervened and then was able to get the police that was there. But when the police arrived, they looked at me, white police officers in Westchester. And when they went in Westchester, LA, over there by the LAX, they said, they looked me up and down. They wasn't expecting a black girl to come up out the townhome. They said, "Oh, you don't look like you're a victim." And then my question was, well, what does a victim look like?
Right.
White,
Right.
skin.
What does the victim look like? You're right. Yeah.
What does a victim look like? So I just want to put that out there that we have an idea of what a victim of
Looks
domestic violence or a victim of sex trafficking or what a
Right.
victim of sexual assault, what that victim is supposed to look like in
Right.
order to spark up um compassion or an ability to support. So
Right.
I said, you know what? Fuck it. Take me to my mama house. So my next door neighbor with her, she intervened and got me to my mom house. There's when I said, you know what? I can't trust a police officer. I don't have nobody to have my back. I got to do this on my own. And then I end up getting a gun to protect myself. So going back to my house to get the stuff for my kids, because that's the thing that goes on in the mother's mind. It's the reason why she doesn't want to leave, or the reason why she end up going back is because she thinking, I don't have nothing for my children. Everything that me and my children, they birth certificates, they social security card, everything is at the house. I gotta go back. So that for me at 18 years old, that was my same thought, is like, I don't have shit. Ain't no way I could start. I can't do anything. If I'm really gonna get away from him, I need my stuff.
And you've already had the seeds planted that you can't trust your family.
Right.
I can't trust
There
my
was
family.
nowhere to go.
Right. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
you knew that if nothing else, he would
Yeah.
provide. Like he's going
Exactly.
to provide. He
No
may whip
matter
my
what.
butt, but he's going to
Yeah.
provide. I can't go to
Yeah.
family. They provide. So it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
mental things
Yeah.
going on.
Let's go there.
Well, we're gonna finish it up, but I just want to jump in real quick for anybody who just jumping in. We're talking with Commissioner Kelli Dillon tonight from Back to the Basics LA.org, and she's sharing her story of domestic violence not so safe at home. All right, Kelli, go ahead, finish that story.
So I when I go back, by this time I'm armed. I have my own protection.
Was this
So
all in the same day or like
all in
later?
no, it's all in the same day. It's all
Wait,
in
how
the
did
same
you
day.
get that? Well, that's another story. Okay.
So that's why I said. So here's the thing. I At that point I was so disappointed. My relationship was broken with God. My relationship was broken with my family. I did not trust law enforcement to assist me or help me. And then they threatened me that if they came back out there again, that they were going to take my kids from me. So that's another thing. The reason why a lot of people don't actually access emergency care for
Yeah.
themselves for domestic violence is because there's a threat that if I do so,
Right.
that the same entity that I'm asking help from is
Right.
saying that they're going to break up my family or take my children from me. And the reason why I'm crying out is for the sake of me and my
And
children.
yeah.
Because they
So,
don't understand. They don't understand our dynamics and how
they don't.
we. It's the different
Right.
cultures that
The
you were
culture.
talking
Right.
about.
The culture. Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
and that's the reason why our people, culturally speaking, especially black and brown, we have a distrust of those government entities. And so therefore we will tolerate what's going on in our lives long for the sake of not being having the family split up, or now
Mm,
now having an open DCFS case and having to prove to them that
Right.
I'm a fit mother just
Right.
because I have a psychopath as the kid's father.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So that is another issue. That's all right. It's all right. It's another issue
Right.
that's really there too, as to why our people don't access help the way we should. So
Right.
I go back over there, and when I do, I thought he was gone because the neighbor said, "Oh, he's gone. This is a perfect time to try to come get your stuff." But he pops up from out of nowhere, like because he knew I was coming back, because he knew I left with nothing, so he knew I was coming back. And when I came back, we got into one last confrontation, and I just told him I'm tired. So whether I leave out, somebody gonna leave out in a body bag. So whether it be me or whether it be you, somebody gotta go, because this can't continue, because I'm dying every day anyway.
Right.
I was totally like just broken and numb. And so he's, him being the abuser, because in the abuser mind, it's there, it's a narcissistic type personality, but in an abuser mind, they feel that they always have the upper hand, or they can
right.
always manipulate the situation, or they're always 3 steps ahead of their victim. So that's the way they have strategically planned it. So in
Right.
his mind, he was going to pump fear, but he didn't realize that that fear was the very thing that was needed in order for me to pull the trigger. So he
Right.
stepped to me. He said, "Oh, bitch, you gonna shoot me? Oh, that's what you gonna do, bitch? You gonna shoot me? All right." And then when he went to lunge for me, I popped his ass twice.
Mm.
And so when that happened, he was stunned, and he looked at me like, he didn't see it coming.
Right.
And then I was kind of like, myself. And then from that point on, he fell. And then I just went back to my mom. I actually left. I didn't stay. I fled the scene and went back to my mother's house when my 2 children was waiting for me. And then I just gathered them in my arms,
Wow.
and I stayed there. I don't want to make a joke of it, but it reminded me of Miss Sophia, when she was waiting for the police to come get her. She had her kids in the chair with her. But
Right.
because sometimes life imitates art.
Right.
But
You got, yeah.
yeah, but I was waiting for, so there I called the police, and I'm like, look, I'm at my mama house. And
Right.
so and then here's the thing. Even though I live my mama lives about 3-4 blocks away from the police station, it still took them 5 hours to come get me.
What?
Yeah.
And
It's
you called and told them what
And
you
I
had
called him
done.
and told him where I was at. Yeah.
What
So
year was this?
this was in 2000. I mean, excuse me, this was in 1995. So
Okay.
from there, I was taken to into custody, in which, with all the records, the hospital records, the neighbors' reports and
Yeah.
testimony, they still was trying to give me 35 years to life.
Wow.
wow.
I had walked into court with bruises, with burn marks, with scars and steel stitches healing up off my eye, and the justice system did not care at that time. They still was trying to give me 35 years of life. So for 2.5 years, I fought in Los Angeles County Jail, the first sentence of 35 years of life. I got acquitted of first-degree murder. I got hung between second and manslaughter. Then I went back to trial again. So they was trying to take my life. They didn't care about any of the things that we had.
That occurred.
Um, yeah, they didn't care. And so
So,
after that, I received, on the second trial, I ended up receiving 15 years, 11 years for manslaughter, and 4 years gun enhancement, would total it up to like 5 years, and they gave me a strike.
Okay.
wow.
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 Yeah, I'm
Now,
like, wow.
Speechless. Yeah, because she went past that, then went back. Because we said you said he fell, but we didn't know that he actually died.
He
So he
died.
died.
Yeah.
Wow. That, yeah.
And here's the thing is that although a lot of people, especially when I was incarcerated, it was so many women in there, so many young girls who were in there for killing their pimps that had been sex trafficked. They had killed their abusers, their molester, their child rapists. They had
Mm.
killed and they still was in there for life. And
Right.
so my healing began with us telling each other's story and comforting each other and us letting us know that we wasn't alone. And that's what like why I'm so able to tell the story. Not that there is no remorse or there is no hurt for the loss of the life of my husband. But here's the thing, my children also lost life. They
Yeah.
lost the life of their mother. They lost the bond. They lost all those things. And so the one thing people ask me, so I'm gonna be honest with you. People ask me, Kelly, are you remorseful? Or are you sorry that you did it? I have to tell them that I was in war. My
Yeah.
Right.
life was on the line. And
Yeah.
he would tell me over and over again how he was going to kill me. And sometimes he would choke me till I passed out. Those things are near death experiences. You get what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so 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 I was really, close to death in a lot of situations. It's not that I don't have remorse for what happened, but where I have an area of compassion for my husband is that he never got a chance to heal from his childhood trauma, in
Wow.
which created the monster in him.
And so
Mm.
he did have that conversation with you?
No,
No.
he never got a chance to heal. So he grew up. So like you say, people hurt people.
Yeah.
Right.
He grew up with a mother who was drug addicted. He grew up in and out of shelters and DCFS and foster care type systems. He grew up with a mother who had abusive men who would abuse him and her, and had pimps for boyfriends and different things
Mm.
like that. So he was that him the way he loved me, it was really what he thought. He thought
Yeah.
it was
What do
love.
you do?
Right.
He
Right.
thought that
Because
was
of the
love.
seed that was planted. Because of the seed
Yeah.
that was planted, he
Yeah.
continued to water it. He continued to be around people who were doing the same thing, and it was just his norm. And
It was his
so,
norm.
yeah, not having the chance to heal
Right.
from that, that's
Right.
somebody's reality today. That is
Yeah.
somebody's reality today. So my question to you is, what, I know you said that you didn't trust God anymore, or you didn't want to have a relationship with him anymore. Where are you
Yeah.
at with that today?
So today, like I had to realize um that I could not, so spiritually speaking, is that I could not identify God and who he was based on the choice of a mere man. What my experience is with one individual does not define the, the divinity of God. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I can't explain to you about just spiritual healing and the comforting that was miraculous of when how God met me during trial inside that holding tank by myself, in which we was when they was like when we was picking jury and all this stuff like that. And that's when God came in and said, "This is too much for you. I'm gonna take the burden of this off you. I love you, and that just know that it's for a greater purpose. That if I
Mm.
allow it, it is for a greater purpose." And
Mm.
so shortly after that is when I met someone who was a spiritual mentor of mine, and then she poured life into me and said that, Kelly, God is going to use this. There's a scripture in the Bible that I gotta say. He said all things work for the glory of God. for those that love the Lord and the
Yeah.
called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
And so so TD Jakes also kind of said about how to turn your pain into purpose.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so what happened was, I had so because while you incarcerated, we have to self-educate. That's why a lot of
Yeah.
brothers and sisters read books and all this other stuff. You
Yeah, we
self-educate.
say they come out to be so religious when they get
They
in there.
being
They're
scholars.
so educated, but you're getting fun. So that's
Yeah,
what you
so
do.
you do. You self-educate. So in the midst of self-educating while incarcerated, I began to realize in my mind that it was my story, that I owned it, and that I was not no longer going to allow the enemy
Yeah.
that was trying to destroy my life, or that
Yeah.
had sent things to destroy me. I was not going to allow the enemy to have any more power. That I was going to, number one, take the power of that situation, take the power of my story, and then I was going to use it for a greater purpose in
Yeah.
which no one can hurt me. The one, let me just say this one thing too before we move forward, is that I always look at politicians and different people and celebrities when their stories, the hidden stuff come out. It's
Mm.
like when it devastates them, it ruins their brand and all this other stuff like that. But then it hit me that the reason why it that happens is because you're trying to hide something so then somebody can use it against you. But if
Yes.
you come out and be like, hey, listen, this is what I used to do. I used to do this. I used to fuck with this. I used to smoke that. I used to do that, whatever this and that. But this is how I'm gonna show you how to do this now. Everybody loves a good comeback story.
Right.
You
But
get
Right.
what I'm
I always say that your transparency is somebody else's road to recovery.
saying?
And when you
Exactly.
take away the opportunity for someone to tell you can't tell my story the way that I tell my story. So let me go ahead and tell my story, right? And now what? Now what do you have to
Right.
say? So
This
when
is
I
Right.
my
am
story.
speaking, yeah, when I am speaking about me, I
Right.
always say, hey, so do me a favor and go ahead and set judgment to the side because I got something for you
Exactly.
that can feed you, right?
Exactly.
If you
Right.
give yourself an opportunity to do. So for you
Right.
in this story right here, I'm sure people that know you from back in the day
Right.
but don't really know the story, they judge you. And you say you commissioner who over what? Listen, look at God. This is what, so your purpose, your status, your purpose, none of those things lined up. God
Right.
needed you to go through that. He chose you. You are chosen.
Right.
He
Right.
Right.
chose you to go through it because he knew you'd be able to house everything that
Yeah.
he's giving you
Right.
and be where you're at today because somebody
Yeah.
needs you. Somebody needs you.
Yeah. And you know what? Also went so over this last 10 years, like I said, I've worked for many domestic violence programs. And so I've had a lot of young women and men who have come through as on my caseload, in which I've had to, just encourage and teach and educate, because it was also about educating and getting people to see the relationships or the pattern of relationships that they were having in their own lives.
The
But the one
pattern.
thing
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But the one thing that I realize is that in victimhood, that what keeps a victim is because they live in shame of
Mm,
Mm.
that situation. And
Yeah.
because they live in shame of it, like you say, they want to keep it hidden or they don't want to talk about it. But
right.
it's not until they are able to, like the another scripture is, confess thy sins to one another so that
Yeah.
that may be healed. Now, what
Yeah.
you went through in your victimhood is not a sin, but meaning that those harsh things, those things that have broken us, those things that
Right.
having
Right.
us separated, that
Right.
that
Right.
keep us separated from love, and things that
Yeah.
keep us
That's
separated
where
from
sin is
healing.
born.
When we Exactly. So when we confess those things is
Yeah.
when and we able to actually say it out of our mouths is where our healing begins. And so that's the reason why I just want to say that for anybody right now that's listening or know someone that, a lot of times victimhood can keep you in isolation. It
Listen.
Mm.
can keep you in the isolation of your mind, and you constantly are thinking that you're not worthy. Go ahead, Altina.
Which is what brings me to the next thing, like being in this period of isolation, what would your advice be to somebody who is in this, who, who may not know what to do at this point? You've been
Right,
ordered to stay at home. I know
right.
today I heard something on the radio where they were actually talking about people. They're not, they actually said, we're not ordering individuals who are in domestic violence situations or abusive situations to stay there. If you find yourself in a situation like that,
Mhm.
call 911. But we know that's easier said than done.
Right.
What is
Yeah,
your advice having going through that for
right.
somebody in this period?
Right. So here's the thing. Speaking with, different people that work in the domestic violence field, or, child abuse, domestic, Department of Children and Family Services, domestic violence hasn't increased. It hasn't increased. It hasn't
No.
decreased either. It hasn't
Right.
decreased either. There's been steady calls of domestic violence. There's still domestic violence happening. Here, but what has decreased, from what I've been told from a few friends of mine that work in shelters and things, is that the calls for people who try to flee domestic violence, those
Mhm.
calls have dropped.
They have decreased.
They have decreased due to the COVID-19, because
Oh, good stuff.
so here's the thing. Do I stay? So now it's the
Mhm.
situation of, do I stay in this relationship in
Where
which
I
it's in the
know,
comforts and the confines of my own home, in
yeah,
which I know how to survive this, or do I go into a shelter like place with me and my children, in
When
which there's a
and you're
possibility of
exposed.
exposed and becoming
Possibility.
sick?
Wow.
I didn't
Exactly.
think about that.
Yeah.
What are you
So
guys advising?
so here's the thing. The shelters are still taking people. They still take people when you find yourself, or you and your children, in a very volatile situation where it feels like life and death, and you're no longer scared. I think I'd rather take my chances on making sure that the shelter is doing everything in precaution to make sure that the residents there are safe, as opposed to keeping me or me and my children in that situation. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
So,
so you, it's easier. So you've been in those shoes before, and
yeah,
you're on the other side of that thing. But for
yeah,
someone that's actually in it, that's
right,
already confused as to, do I
yeah,
go, do I stay? That could be a
yeah.
hard decision for
Yeah,
them.
so usually the thought there, a person who wants to flee domestic violence, the thought crosses their mind a
They-
hundred times before they get the strength to make the first step.
right,
And usually they end up leaving or coming back before the end of the day, about 4 or 5 times before they actually say, "This is it. I can't do it no more."
mm,
So it's about making sure that they know that there is shelters that are still there's the shelter doors or have not closed because of
right,
this COVID-19.
mm,
It is still there. Here's the thing: we want to try to set up but now getting to a shelter is a little bit more difficult, or calling 911 or calling a hotline is a little bit more difficult, because now I'm in the house 24/7, maybe
mm,
with the stay at home order with my abuser. So
right.
I would say this: try to gradually implement with either somebody on Facebook or Instagram, code, some type of code.
I saw one today. I saw one today that said, if you are being abused at home,
Yeah.
send me a DM, but talk about makeup.
Yes.
Say that you want to order, like if you say I want to order the blush, then that means
Yeah.
I need to call the police to get them to you. And I'll say,
Exactly.
what is your address? And I'll
Address.
send it out to you. So there was
E-
something on there like that.
exactly.
Is that what
Exactly.
you
That was
know? This is something that you kind of already need to have done beforehand, yes?
no, no, no,
Or
no, no. No, I mean if you are now in a position where you can start planning the safety planning, then that's
mm,
fine.
hmm.
Whether it's not that you like, even if it's saying that you need to take some documents, or you going to telling your abuser something that you need to make copies to send it to get some extra food or whatever, this and that. Try,
Right.
you always want to, if you can, if you got a little bit more leeway, making sure that you have copies of documentation. Because remember, me going back home to get the birth certificates and to get copies
Yeah.
of things is what escalated that situation as well. You want to
Right.
also, like you say, continue to. So even if it was like you said, the sound of my voice, if you're experiencing domestic violence right now, DM or call you and have those things set up in place, then you want to try to establish that with someone that you know and love, or that you can trust, or even if it's a new person, even if it's a
Right.
new person, a random person, and
Right.
say,
Right.
hey, listen, if I tell you X, Y, and Z and then erase it, then just know if you see me say this again, I need some blush, or can you send it to the house because I don't want to go shop for some, then you know to call 911 and send them to my place. That was like so bomb. That was
Yeah.
excellent. That was
Yeah.
Right.
excellent. Start getting your children, teaching your children to establish code and code words and
Right.
stuff like that. And then here's the thing, I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it. We kind of talked about adult relationships, but also what is happening is the ability to see if there are children who are being abused. Where is it that we were able to monitor that a little bit better when they were going to school, or they was receiving care or education, but
Right.
now
We
those
never
children
to
are at
the
home.
house.
Those children are at home with their abusers now. So
Mm.
now it's a little
Right.
bit more difficult for them to
Reach out
yeah, to reach
or
out.
even be
So,
seen.
Talk about
so,
it.
so next week I'm gonna send you guys the link too, because next week me and she's my executive director, and she's also one of my co-trainers or co-facilitators in training that we do over across LA. We're gonna do
Mhm.
a webinar, but we're gonna have DCFS, some people that we know from the department on air with us in order to speak about what they're doing to address child abuse during this time, or how to seek safety, or to engage in those type of things of monitoring child abuse or neglect or mistreatment as well.
Oh,
So I'll send that to you, and maybe you can send it to the team as well. So we're gonna try to get that out there, because that's been a real issue that people been wanting to know. It's like, well, what about the children? The children are
right.
now home 24 hours now with their abusers or their molesters. What do we do? So that's why I was saying is that, like, this is like, I think I talked about it a little bit prior. Like, this ain't the time for the no snitch shit. Like,
Yeah.
I don't snitch. That
Right.
ain't my problem. That ain't my business. That ain't got nothing to
Right.
do with my household. It's like, come on now. Like, that is what keeps perpetuating the condition and the
Right.
poverty mindset. That's a
The
poverty
poverty
mindset.
mindset.
That's a poverty mindset. And it's also a setup to keep allowing a predator to be a predator. So
That
Right.
therefore, we need people to say, like, nah, like, okay, it's one thing for me to snitch on you because you didn't rob the bank and I know where the stash at. But it's another thing in order for you to intervene in the saving the life of a child who is
Child.
being torn down spiritually, emotionally, and mentally every day and they cannot, and they have no, a child cannot, a child does not have an equal playing field.
right.
To be able to care for themselves and keep themselves safe. You feel me?
Right.
If you real gangster, so like I told somebody before, I said, okay, then if it's not about calling police, I said, then we need to do some community vigilante things. So what you gonna do? Because that's real gangster. You feel me?
Right.
That's
Right.
that's that. If you then utilize your gangsterism for some real shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Oh, same thing. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so man, so that's it.
So
I
let
think
let
you
me
can
ask you a
go.
question. Go, you gonna go, Tina?
Well, I was just going to open it up for questions. If anybody have questions, type your questions, get the chat, and like and share, you guys. Like and share. Come on. This young
I
lady
want
has
to
shared
ask
her
you.
story. She
Yeah,
has poured her soul out tonight. And there is somebody that
yeah,
needs to hear this story. I'm telling you, somebody is locked in right now with
yeah.
COVID-19 and don't know what to do. But all they have is Facebook, YouTube, and whatever
The
the
ground.
the social medias. Like and share, like and share, like and share, so that somebody else, if you don't need it, there is somebody out there who needs to
Absolutely.
hear what to do, who to call. We're gonna give her an opportunity to give some numbers later on. We'll type it in,
Right,
but right now, let's open it up because we are going on the hour. Let's go
right.
ahead and open it up.
But
I know.
let me ask you a question, Kelly. I want to know, what would you today, what would Kelly today tell Kelly in 1995?
Ooh.
What would you say to the Kelly in 1995? Because somebody is the Kelly in 1995 today in 2020. So what
Right.
would you, because I know you care enough about you. I know that you care enough about your kids. You love yourself enough to just go in. So I want you to talk to you right now.
You know what? That is a question in which basically was replayed over and over for 15 years in prison, which is really what you asking is what would I do differently? And or what I would tell Kelly is something different than if I was able to offer Kelly help and assistance.
Mhm.
I wish that I would have met me, the me that I am today, and the me that I'm offering all of these girls, and the me that I'm in the trenches, in the streets, and the me that I'm working with from. I wish I would have met me. I wish I would have had me in my life. The me
Yeah,
that I give the community, the me that I give these girls, is the me that I was looking for back then, and there
yeah,
was no me around me. You
yeah,
get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So it's nothing that unless I was there to take her in, to have her back, to make sure that she was safe, and then I was able to hide her enough to give her a chance to not only heal but then to grow. Because I was, let me just say this, as solid as I am today, I was solid back then. I was, even though I would I would, if you fuck with me, then you got fucked with. That was it. But I just gotta say it like that. But I was solid. I was a good friend. I was a good man. I was solid back then.
yeah.
So it wasn't that I would have taken advantage of the help that I got. So
Right.
the only thing that I would tell that Kelly, if I got opportunity to talk to her, is to let her know that this is not this is not your end.
Yeah.
This is
That's a
not
good
your end.
one. That's a
This
good
is
one.
this is not your end. And I the biggest thing back then was I felt that I was not I felt like I wasn't worthy to be my children's mother
Mm,
because I couldn't provide for them. I couldn't protect them the way I wanted to.
right.
So it was more so I felt like I didn't deserve to be a mother because
Right.
I couldn't do the things that I needed to do for them.
Right.
So only thing I would tell Kelly is the fact that you are stronger than you know.
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
And and that you may think that you can't do it on your own, but you can, like, you it's just more so like I can only just tell you where I was at.
Yeah.
I was just
No,
really I was
I
broken.
appreciate I appreciate the fact that you didn't give no bullshit answer. Like I've
Yeah.
heard people give that, that was it's the cliche question that
Yeah.
a lot of people ask, but your
Right.
answer was basically I needed a me then, right?
Yeah,
Which
That's the
tells a lot of people today,
right.
hey, step up and be a me today. You know what I
right,
mean? Be that
right,
need for somebody.
Right.
because telling me a cliche
Right.
poem or whatever it is that you want to tell me, I was already solid. I was taking care of myself, but I couldn't save myself at that moment,
Right.
Exactly.
right? So I
And,
needed somebody to
right,
actually come in and
right,
save me. I needed a physical body to help
right,
me at that point,
right.
and you didn't
Right.
have a physical body at that point. So
I
I
get it.
appreciate you transparency and just being truthful with that
Right.
because I know that's
Absolutely.
what a lot of people are.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
see,
And
I see, I see a lot of people in the comments. I don't know. Can you see the same comments I see?
I see them.
I can only see certain
I
ones.
can
I'm
see
I'm
them. There
responding
aren't
to some.
any.
I don't.
There's some comments, but there aren't any questions. So you have Chanel. She said you're still strong, and you have
Yeah,
changed so many. You have changed so many lives, and I'm glad she
yeah,
said that, Chanel Woodard. You changed so many lives because when I asked that question, it's a question that I ask myself often. What would you tell the Tam back then that
yeah.
that you would that if you could talk to that person? I would say
Mhm.
this to you as well. So, although you're talking to Tanya, and although you're talking to Keisha, and although you're talking to Jennifer, you're talking to Kelli. You're talking
Yeah,
to the 1995 Kelli. And so, when you're having those conversations with these ladies and these young ladies, because you're dealing with teens right now, when you're having these conversations with these teens, I want you to remember what you needed when you were there. And I want you to
exactly.
remember to pour into them before you got there, pour into them so that they can be
Right,
proactive and not actually reactive. Because right
right,
now, as adults, we are in a space where we're being reactive to something that our experience, right? But God has
mhm,
given us another chance and another opportunity so that we can be what we needed back then. And so just
right,
know you're talking to Kelli every day. Every day
right.
you're talking to Kelli.
Let me just say this. What to me would have been the most tragic thing was for me to go through that situation and then sit on the information. It's more so like Harriet Tubman finding a way out of that shit and didn't go back to show each other the way. So
Yeah,
this the mandate. This the mandate that we all, you, Ram, Tina, even Chanel, Dominique, Martika, everybody that I see on here, Marquita, the mandate that we have on us is
Yeah.
to, once we find the way out,
Yeah.
once we find a way out the hood, once we find out the way out of poverty, once
Mm-mm.
we find our way out of the DV situation,
Grab a
is to
hand.
go back and then get another one and then bring them back. We are the modern day Harriet Tubmans.
right.
Yes.
You get
Good.
what
Nah,
I'm
you
saying?
said that.
It's so many things that oppress us, and once we find the way
Yeah.
out, it is mandated for us to
Right.
go in and then show another person the way out, and then that person can show another way out, because it's really about us being free.
Right.
Right.
You feel?
Right.
This is
And it
about,
starts here.
it
Freedom
starts
starts in
here.
your mind. Your
Yes.
mindset has to change, like you were speaking on earlier, as far as having the poverty mindset. When you have a poverty mindset, that thing spills out in every area of your life. From the
Mhm.
smallest thing of what am I going to put on today? So I see women and I see men going out to the stores with their pajamas on, with their head wrapped, poverty mindset. Come up
Poverty
out of that,
mindset.
walk out like you are a man of God, or a man that just respect themselves, or a woman that just
Yeah.
respect themselves,
Right.
because
Right.
you're going to be treated and
Mhm.
spoken to according to what they see. So the first
Right.
thing is what I see. If I don't have a conversation with you, all I can go off of is what I'm looking at.
Right.
Right.
Right. So, and also here's the thing is that I also had to recognize is the way that I was treating myself is the way that I was allowing others to treat me. So
Mm-hmm.
like a
Exactly.
lot of people ask me like why do like I date from here, from time to time, and I've had a serious relationship in a little while ago, whatever, but I'm so not so much overprotective where I don't allow anything in. It's just that I'm not playing. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
playing. So here's the thing we have to look at. So I want to say this before we get off too, is that we have to look at the subtle things that
Mm-hmm.
build up into the DB situation. We have to
Yeah.
look at the subtle things, how you talked, how you responded to me. Like,
Right.
a sister was sharing to me that she had did something in her relationship, and as a result, her man has shut down all communication, didn't answer the phone, and ignored her. As a sense of punishment. And I told her, I said, you have to really look at the fact of how this man handles conflict,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Mm-hmm.
fact that for him to emotionally isolate himself for you, even though he knew that what happened was beyond her control, she
Yeah.
could not, at the time, she could not answer his phone because she was at work. But she
Right.
said, baby, I'm so sorry. I saw you call about 2 or 3 times. I was trying to get to you, but my supervisor was right in front of me. My bad. He was like, oh no, like I'm good now. I'm over it now. Whatever. I said, hold up, baby. That's a red flag. You got to
Right.
look at the fact of how he handles situation,
Right.
even after you've given him the explanation, which was beyond your control. He still felt the need to punish you.
Right.
Oh hell no! Oh
Right.
hell no! So that's the reason why you.
Are there classes that you all offer to help people recognize
Yeah,
these?
yeah. So it is classes, but you already know this COVID-19 thing has
I
shut things
know, yeah.
down.
You
So
guys,
so So not only do I do sometimes me and my executive director at Positive Results that we do trainings, we do workshops and stuff like that. But I also was doing healthy relationships and domestic violence workshops at the Martin Luther King Community Center that was at the Watts Willowbrook area. And
Yeah.
so, but all of that has shut down now because we don't have access,
yeah, and
to
something
whatever.
like
So that's why we're trying to create something maybe weekly in order to do like a refresher course, or to do actually like DV classes for just an hour.
Yeah.
So we can sit back, talk about, and then but understanding that it will be a curriculum, and then the fact that we will go over certain things and be able to talk, and also figuring out how we do this Zoom situation and still keep the
yeah,
thank you, Dominique, but Zoom, but also keep the confidentiality, because
right,
that's the thing about speaking with domestic violence workshops, is that there has to be, because we're talking about victim, unless it's just an open community healthy relationship workshop. But if we're talking about actually having domestic violence classes, then
Right.
you're
mhm,
talking about a confidentiality thing.
yeah,
Absolutely. And the people that show up at the DV workshops, they're serious, because that's not domestic violence. Those type of workshops aren't just things where people say, well, I don't have nothing else to do, let me just go.
Mhm,
That is
mhm.
a cry out for help, right? A
Yeah,
subtle cry out for help. And sometimes they show up and they'll say, I mean, he don't really, because you begin to compare your situation with other folks, and you be like, okay, well, it's not that bad, but it's all that bad, right? So when
yeah.
those people show up, sign up, pay to be at something like that, they're serious. And so, like you said, you want to be prepared, you want to be ready so that you can help steer them through that thing.
Yes,
you
most
give me
definitely.
comment. Chanel Woodward said, one thing I can say, meeting you changed my life. I was angry and I know I didn't deserve what happened, but you poured strength into me, and I thank you for that. So that was Chanel Woodward. Um, uh, Kiwi Bailey said, do a Zoom. I'm just concerned about the Zoom because if you're at home with a perpetrator, how can you do the Zoom? Maybe when they go to
Exactly.
work, I don't know. But yeah, Monica Fisher says, I love this. Is there a number that they can call if they're in trouble right now?
Yeah.
Need to get out.
Yeah. So actually, so first of all, I want to say that they can call 211. So
Right.
211 is where they can actually access domestic violence shelter. They can access the hotline number in order for them to receive just the counseling, or they can call the national hotline, because it's two hotlines. It's the county hotline and the national hotline. So they can call the national hotline at 1-800-799, and then the letters SAFE, which is 1-800-799 faith. So I believe if I, uh-huh,
1-800 799 what?
Safe.
Safe.
Oh,
SAFE.
safe. Okay, now y'all want me to find the numbers, what that is.
No, no, no. It's seven. No, I was gonna tell you it's 7233. So the
Okay.
the safe number is 7233.
Okay.
And
All
then
right.
there's a county hotline. So I'm trying to see what the county hotline number is. So the county hotline, you can put that down in there, which is 1-800-978-3600.
978-3600.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's the county hotline.
That's the county hotline. So that's LA County. So those
Oh
are the
man.
two hotlines you can call. And also, it's like a couple people from the last thing I did, they DM me. So you can go on and you can DM me and I'll call you. I'll talk to you. It's the same number. My number is 323
You want
403.
you want to let them DM you, or you gonna put your number
Okay.
out there?
Okay, I can let them DM me, but I usually call them, because I done had this number for 10 years.
You're
And
on
oh,
Facebook.
let me just say this too is that for about 7 years I taught abusers. So I've actually started three
Wow.
programs. I started one program at Second Call for to talk about for perpetrators of abuse. I started another batters intervention program at Southern California Alcohol and Drug Program, and then I had another one in South LA. And so I also at times teach. And I think once we get back up into the swing of things and getting back into the groove of things, I'm going to partner up with another young man of mine who's a Muslim guy. But we're going to also look at trying to bring the batterers intervention program to the South LA Watts area as well. So that's a fit now. That's court order. That's a 52-week
Right.
court order program. And a lot of people say, Dan, Kelly, like, how can you, if you've been a victim, how can you teach the abusers? Because 80% of the people in the class was once victims themselves. Like I
Very
said,
true. Hurt
Yeah,
people
hurt
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 people,
people.
people.
And heal
hurt
people
people,
Kelly,
hurt
heal
people.
people.
how can they
Yes.
reach you on Facebook? What are you on Facebook? Miss Kelly
So,
Dillon?
yeah, so you can reach me at Kelly Dillon, or you can go on there. I'm at Back to the Basics. And
Mm-hmm.
so either, I
That's
think I
going
gave
on.
you, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's right there. So it's www.back, the number two, the basics la.org, or either Instagram. And at Instagram is Back to Basics. So it's not it's just Back to Basics LA.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Dante on here. Hi, Dante.
Yeah, he's
Hey, Dante. Thanks for coming on. All right, well, Kelly, I mean, man, you done gave us so much tonight. Like,
yes.
your story is dynamic, and I know you still got some more because we didn't even touch on the whole gang violence situation. We kind of brazed through that one. We
Right.
want to. I want to have you
If,
come back on another
yeah,
time
if
and
you
we
can,
talk about.
if you can, and you have that conversation, I want to bring on a couple young ladies that are still in the trenches, as well as the ones who do the work, so we can have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because let me just say this, I also work with Gang Reduction Youth Development Office, the Grid Office of LA. And so I'm still going to a lot of shootings and a lot of calls and everything where young girls are getting shot, or they're doing the shooting and everything else like that. So I got a couple of my homegirls that have been transitioning out of that active lifestyle and
Yeah.
becoming mothers. So if we're gonna have that conversation, I think it'd be good to have different levels of
Yeah.
those who was in it,
Oh,
those who came out.
Different
listen, we
perspectives. Yeah.
invite everybody to the table. Come on to the table. We're gonna
Absolutely.
have you back on. We're
Yeah.
gonna have you back on. We're gonna talk about that, them girls and gangs. And that was actually, like I was sharing with you, was supposed to be one of our first topics when we first decided to resurrect the kitchen table talk. Gangs and girls was the topics, or something to that nature. It didn't work out. The guest speaker wasn't able to make it due to uncontrolled circumstances. But yes, we definitely want to hear from anybody with a real life experience.
Yeah,
'Cause that's what that's what makes it real, and that's what we hear. We
absolutely.
all about helping somebody that might be in that situation to get free. And I
Yeah,
appreciate you.
I
yeah.
appreciate
Kelly,
you.
you were
Thank you so
dynamic. I
much.
love you,
Thank
and
Yes,
you.
you are always welcome. Anytime that you want to reach out and say, "Hey, let's put this on the platform," do
Okay.
not call us up. You're always welcome to sit at the table and talk about it.
And it was nice meeting you, Ram. It was so much
it was
nice
nice
meeting you.
meeting you.
I look forward to our next conversation. So we're gonna have to get that in the works, okay? Bye,
Absolutely.
you
Thank you so
guys.
Absolutely.
much, Kelly.
Bye bye.
Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it. Thank you for
Oh
coming to
my
the
God!
table.
Like we was here today, Bram. What the was that enough? Oh my God, my plate is full. I
Listen,
mean,
somebody got free today. And
I
it may not even, and I'll say this, may not even be someone that is or that was going through or was going through domestic violence. But we talked a lot about the mindset of being
my
free, right?
my
So if
yeah,
you're able to connect with just getting free of, some of those negative
anything,
thoughts, whatever,
anything.
this is
Yeah,
your time to get free. This is your opportunity. And I feel like I'm calling them to Christ right now.
you're doing the altar call round. You
Altar call,
you
altar
can't
call.
help it. You
I,
can't help it.
I know I got the can't help it.
Come to Jesus. Come.
I can't help it. And you know what? I used to apologize for it. I'm
Don't
not.
apologize. You
Um,
are who you are because
yeah,
somebody definitely needed to hear it. And y'all come on back. I hope I helped somebody. I
yes,
hope we helped somebody. Really, I had nothing to
absolutely.
say. It was all about Kelly, Miss Kelly Dillon
Yes,
tonight. But I really hope that this helps somebody. I really, y'all take advantage of the resources that are out there. Feel free to DM Miss Kelly for any needs that you might have, or just if you feel like you coming into that situation or you in it, you don't know how to get out. Give her
right.
a call. She is the expert on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and she didn't even, like I said, touch the surface
She
of her
didn't even
story.
touch. Right,
We
right.
didn't touch the surface of her story. We only got an hour. We will over the hour, but
Hour 20.
it was good conversation. So
Very
I didn't
good.
want to cut it off. Y'all
And you
come
guys
back
come next week. Make sure you come
next
next
week.
week. We have Miss Shanae Reddick. She's coming. We call it a hood healer, but she's coming to drop some good nuggets about her, what it is that she does, right, Tina?
Yes, she does. Miss Shanae Reddick is a hood healer. She's all about holistic hair and treatments. And I don't even think it's just about hair. It's,
It's not. It's actually, it starts
it's
spiritually for
mind,
her.
body, and soul.
Mind,
Mind,
body,
body,
and
and
soul.
soul with her. And so I've already got my product. I got my product. Yeah. So where's that little camera? Can y'all see that? Where? Yeah, Shani Reddick, and I'll be posting this on the Instagram and stuff
Right.
next week. So y'all come here with Miss Shani Reddick, have to say and everything. And so thank y'all for joining
Thank you
tonight.
so much. This was
Thank you for
good.
joining me tonight, Ramses. I'm the host.
This is so good. What you say?
Thank you for joining me tonight, since I'm the host.
Yes, you are the host. Hello, not the co-host.
I thought it was a both, but you're right. I am the host. Own
You're
it.
the host. I'm the co-host. She was the
Yeah.
guest.
Oh, shoot again. Okay. Well, I hope y'all enjoy it. Come on, y'all, for real. Like I said, click, like, and share. Click, like, and share. Click,
Dad
like,
said this was a tough act to follow.
who?
Dad.
Click like and share. Click like and share, you guys. Somebody out there needed to hear it. We love you. We'll see you
But
next week.
wait, one more thing. Dante said, dang, y'all didn't feed her either. we Dante, you know what's up. We're in this COVID-19. We try to 6 feet apart. But listen,
Yeah,
when we come
I need
back,
to figure
whenever
out a way to incorporate the food still. Like,
I have an idea. I have an idea. We'll talk about it offline.
We'll talk about it offline. All right, then. You guys, love you. See you next week, 7 o'clock, right here on Facebook and YouTube. You Instagrammers, IG family, click the link in the bio to watch it live on YouTube. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.